Hello again and welcome to Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri. Boy, do we have some fun here for you. Did you know there's a junior ROTC superintendent's review? There is, and it's taken place. We're going to talk to the folks who were a part of that. We'll also visit about the end of the year stuff, including things like how do you wrap everything up. We'll talk to some of the administrators, including Mick Wilson. It's all straight ahead right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics, so stay with us. Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, your host, and we are joined by a guy who has been around, shall we say, and he's now the high school boys soccer coach at East Central, and that is John Timmons. And John, 9-0 so far. Heck of a start.
Yeah, it's been really good. The kids have done real well. East Central has always been competitive in soccer, for sure. And so when I stepped in this year, I was expecting for them to be what I've seen so far. And, after a little adjustment with a new coach and new players, that's normal anywhere. Things have gone pretty well.
Now, you've coached a lot of different sports. So what you just mentioned, I think, is really fascinating, how a coach adapts to a team. Is it any different sport to sport?
Not really. I mean, it's just the fact that, when you go into a program that's been established, whether it had been successful or not, they've built a relationship with the past coach. So, that's a transition for them. New coach is probably going to have some ideas that are different than what they're used to. That's another transition. And then just the personality transition as well. But, it's pretty normal and it's gone fine.
When you do that, do you have the same philosophy? I mean, coaches have to know players, right? You have to know how to motivate, who to motivate, that kind of thing. But when you're at that first meeting and you're standing up there, is it kind of a set thing you've always done? Do you kind of gauge the room? How do you work it?
Well, I think it's really important to recognize that, coaches don't necessarily make players in high school. Now, they can help them. They can certainly get them on the same page, pulling on the rope in the same direction, so to speak. But it's especially in a skill sport. Now, some sports are a little bit different, but you can't take a 15 or 16-year-old kid and make a great soccer player out of him if he hasn't played before. That's not going to happen. So I think you have to respect their history as a player, right. Respect where they've learned to play. And I always put that out there. I like to kind of draw a distinction between club soccer and high school soccer, because most of them play club, because they're different. And the motivations for the kids playing those are a little bit different. And I address that and put down some simple rules, try not to get myself boxed into a corner too much, and then just go from there.
The rules part, it always makes me laugh because Abe Lemons, the old basketball coach at OCU, had a player get in trouble one time, and they said, well, why don't you have a rule for that? And he said, well, if I make a rule and I don't say don't rob banks, then am I telling them they can go rob banks? That was a little bit past it, but you understand what I'm saying. It is so hard, isn't it?
It is. And you have to you have to deal with people as individuals. You can't I don't think you can just blanket everything you do. Right. So.
Tell me about the basics in soccer. I mean, I think we all understand you use your feet, blah, blah, blah,
sure,
that kind of thing.
Sure.
But when you're talking about someone who maybe hasn't played like you were saying,
right.
You do have to start from the beginning.
Well, yeah, and what I was really referring to on not being able to take someone that age, the experts in the world, the people that know the game, the expert coaches, they talk about a flexibility that has to be developed when you're young and your body's still flexible, your bones haven't matured completely, all that. You have to develop a flexibility in your spine, your lower back and your spine, with your kind of in coordination with your hips to make certain movements. And so what happens if someone doesn't play when they're younger and they've already gone through puberty, basically, the testosterone, at least for males, the testosterone kicks in. So now the muscles get more mass, they become more stiff. And if you haven't done those movements when you were younger, it's really hard to learn them when you're older. And it doesn't really mean people can't pick up the game at a later age and have enjoyment and some success, but they're going to be limited on their development part.
Those people, are they more fit for a different position on a soccer team?
Probably the one position that's completely different than the field players would obviously be the goalkeeper. And more hand-eye coordination, just more general athletic ability would still be. I think you could probably train one and have more success at that position at a later age than the others.
Interesting.
Sure.
You mentioned East Central has such a history. We know about the history in, say, Bixby in football and Union and Jinx in football and Booker T in basketball, really everything. Booker T, but in basketball and Broken Arrow and basketball lately too. What makes a school like that suddenly in one sport just continue to be good? Because those kids change every year.
We know the 15 years I spent at Jinx, I learned a lot about that. There's tradition, there's consistency, it all builds together. And as you come up, I saw kids come up as young kids, in our little camps and stuff. And then, 5 or 6 years later, they're our players. And I can remember kids would look at me and say, well, all I ever wanted to be was a Jinx Trojan, so that type of attitude, and that happens at other places, not just Jinx, but I'm just saying that type of the expectations, and then you've got the community. I mean, it just all kind of builds together, I think.
That is cool. Well, John, congratulations on the great start. Thanks for the great stories. I could do this for another half hour, but I know you got to go. Keep that up, will you?
I will.
John Timmons, East Central High School boys soccer coach, and they are 9-0 right now. Coming back in a minute with a little bit more inside Tulsa athletics.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against a tough competitor, plastic.
Don't trust those numbers on the bottom. You have to stick to what you know. Only bottles and jugs found in the kitchen, bath, or laundry. They're quick to pick up. And empty those bottles before sinking that shot.
Always empty your bottles before recycling. Score big by recycling your plastic bottles and jugs. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
I love Will Rogers Athletics because it helped me physically, spiritually, and emotionally through all the journeys I've been through at that school. All of the support staff helped me a lot, and it's just an amazing school.
Athletics at Will Rogers changed my life because it became a second family. With the support of my coaches and teammates, it's helped me gain confidence, work as a team, and will help me in college and in life.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, your host, and we're having ourselves a fun day right here. And we're going to talk about something right now that I just absolutely love. What if I told you we could get over 500 kids in over 31 schools involved in a rally? What kind of rally? How about a bike rally? And that's what this guy right here is doing, Director of Operations Lance Miller. All you had to do was say those numbers, and I get this picture in my head of all these kids. Maybe it's the wrong picture, but I'm just loving it. Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just a wonderful event. It caps off the year for students at these schools, 31 TPS elementary schools, that are all riding all year. There'll be lots out riding today after school, but it's the one time that they all come together. And it's a lot of young people out on their bikes, a lot of adults out there too to help them out, but it is really a sight. So it's kind of a parade, format really, with road closures and police escorts and all that, and really makes it a big special day for these students.
Sounds a little like herding cats.
Oh yeah, it's definitely always, herding cats, but yeah, times 31 on that day.
How many people does it take to put this thing on?
I mean, gosh, probably the easiest way to look at it is we'll have about 100 adult volunteers out there. These are folks that take time out of their day every week to ride with these students and get to know them, and then they come support this big end of year event. With kind of everything we do with youth riding bikes and bike club, we try to have one adult for about every 4 students.
Well, that's a really good.
Yeah.
That's a good ratio.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, but kind of remind us about the bike program and what you guys do. I mean, most of us, if you're my age, and I'm older, I mean, dirt was just invented, right? When I was born, you had to. I mean, that's how you got around. You rode your bike, and then it kind of went away for a while. But you guys are making sure to reintroduce.
Yeah. You know, there were bike clubs in Tulsa schools, you know, way back when, kind of you know, one-off clubs, but then that kind of went away. So about 11 years ago, started with kind of what we consider our first bike club. You know, it was at Emerson Elementary, and this has grown kind of steadily since then. But there's a variety of programs that we operate, but our flagship program and the one that requires the most community support and volunteer help are these after-school clubs.
What do they do?
They, you know, they ride bikes, but you know, they spend kind of the whole school year riding once a week, and it's a progressive program where they're going from, you know, some of the students that start may not know how to ride a bike at all, and then those that do need to kind of level up their skills before later in the fall semester, and then throughout the spring we can actually take these young people with our adult volunteers and go on kind of little adventures, little field trip rides. We're riding, you know, in the neighborhoods, sometimes riding, you know, several miles away from the school to go to, we're kind of right in the middle of fire station visit season. A lot of our clubs make the trek to their nearest fire station, get a tour, you know, using their bicycles for fun, but also for transportation, and learn how to do that safely.
And I'm assuming learning to work on them, and at least in minor ways. Am I right?
Oh yeah. One of our foundational lessons is a safety check. You know, we call it the ABC check: air, brakes, and chains. So just from the very start, they're learning how to make sure that their bike's safe, and then, you know, how they work. You know, you can really see some light bulbs turning on just when you show them how everything's kind of connected. You know, how their energy goes into the bike and it's turning the chain. And but yeah.
How much generally do you see someone kind of progress? I don't think this is really any different than starting football or basketball or anything else. You see someone get better as they practice more.
Oh, absolutely. We see, you know, students progress their skills. The most dramatic examples, of course, are the students that may start the year not knowing how to ride a bike yet, and then by the end of it, they're, you know, riding their bike, you know, across downtown Tulsa with this big group. But even our students that are more proficient, we kind of see it in the level of trust that we can have in them, that they really learn those skills that they can ride in a group and be safe, and they're you know, watching out for themselves, they're watching out for others. So yeah, see it in a variety of ways.
You know, and the trail system here really kind of got biking going again in Tulsa, and then suddenly we went from 1 or 2 bike shops to a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And then things kind of started to progress again from there. Is Tulsa a good bike city?
Oh, I mean, I think Tulsa is a bike city. And we, you know, we feel like we're part of that, getting young people involved. But then at, you know, kind of the other end, you've got things like Tulsa Tough. That's really a globally known event, and you know, so that's out there with trail development that we're involved with, and that folks would see at like Turkey Mountain with soft surface trails. Mountain biking has really started to explode here, which we're big fans of. You know, we love riding our bikes for transportation, but when it comes down to riding for fun, being out in the woods, being on trails, being, you know, a little bit away from traffic is a really great way to recreate on a bike.
And maybe eventually Crybaby Hill, but someday, right?
Actually, one of our, I mean, we've absolutely had students that started in bike club that have raced and actually done really well in competitive racing up Crybaby Hill. One of our schools is Eugene Field is actually fairly close to Crybaby Hill. And at some point this semester, we do a day where we ride over there and, you know, see if they can get up there without putting a foot down. And a lot of them can, you know.
That's fantastic. Lance Miller, Director of Operations, thanks so much. What a cool event. We appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Coming back soon with some more Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is looking to defend their title against aluminum and steel cans.
Bob, most people think of the kitchen for this opponent, but aluminum and steel cans, like empty shaving cream cans, also play extremely well in bathrooms all over Tulsa. That was nothing but bin, Bob.
Wow, right into the bin. Team Johnson has buttoned up another win. Score big by recycling your aluminum and steel cans. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hales means that you have to be consistent, outgoing, and be dedicated because students at Nathan Hale look up to the football team.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hale has taught me to be confident and disciplined and always to be open-minded and always ready to work with people no matter how difficult it is.
We're back here on Inside Tulsa Athletics. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rick Couri, your host, and we're joined again by a young lady who was with us not very long ago, Emily Stone, an assistant or associate AD, depending on how you want to put that, at Tulsa Public Schools. And we're going to talk about many things, including an elementary track meet. I hear elementary track meet, and much like earlier when we talked about bikes, I just get this vision in my mind of little kids running all over the place with absolutely no idea why.
Absolutely.
How far off am I?
You are not far off. I will let you know that much. No, it's a lot of fun. These kids look forward to this. It's a field day for them, right? They get to go out there. They get to be outside. They get to enjoy the weather, and they get to be active, right? And that's what we want in our elementary school kids. We want them to be active, and we want them to understand the importance of it. And so this is an opportunity for them to get to understand a little bit about track and how track works. But also just to have fun. That's what we want in them.
Well, and also this is kind of an intro to competition. And I say intro, they're going to kind of be in that growing up because they might be in their own individual sports anyway. But when you get everybody together in a place like that, I mean, as a guy who was a former shot putter, I understand when everybody gets together in a track meet like that, it's a bit of a different atmosphere, isn't it?
It is a different atmosphere. You're learning how to be, work together and just learn different personalities, right? This is an opportunity for them to be in a setting where they're gonna be learning a lot. They're gonna learn how to maybe run a 100-meter dash and they've never ran a 100-meter dash, right? Or maybe they're gonna pass a baton off to someone, right? This is a chance for them to learn and take notes, and maybe this is something they're gonna choose to do when they get to middle school or high school, right? So it's a chance for them to get to meet different people from other schools and get to make new friends and just be outside together.
You know, when you start talking about things like just, running 100, just run 100.
Yeah.
No.
It's not just 100.
At least not anymore.
No.
They actually threw me into a 440 relay once as a shot putter because they thought they ran out of people and said, hey, we need one other person. Oh, sure, I'll do that. 300 yards later, I begged to die.
Oh, yeah.
And I just didn't want to do that anymore. Now, when you're talking about kids starting to learn these kinds of things, how much do you have to go out ahead of it and say, look, I know it seems like it's easy, but you have to pace it and all those things?
Absolutely. And, we have our PE teachers who are going to be there, and they're going to be there to help facilitate those conversations and be able to tell them, like, hey, you're going to get out of breath, right? You're going to have to pace yourself, and you're going to have to understand that running full speed ahead is not always the smart decision, especially if you are running those 4x4s.
Right.
You got to learn to pace yourself and start out slow and let the other people burn themselves out a little bit, right? You're fast isn't always better.
Yeah.
In this case, as a 4x4. But if you are running the 100, you have to be a little bit quicker off the jump. But again, it's not about how quick you're going to go. It's about pacing yourself and not running out of breath.
How many of these kids recognize some of those athletes? I mean, if you put a kid in a basketball court, they know who the basketball players are nowadays. It was Jordan at a time. It might be LeBron, might have been Kobe. If you put them on a football field, they're going to talk about Tom Brady or whoever, or Dak Prescott. When they go out to do track, do any of them know who Usain Bolt is?
I would probably guess to say no, which is why we want to do these things. We want them to be able to understand the sport a little bit more, and that track is just as important as basketball or football. There's great athletes out there like Usain Bolt that they can learn about, and that they can understand that, like, there's opportunities out there beyond basketball and football. There's opportunities in track. And so this is just a chance for them to get to understand those things.
How many events are you introducing them to?
We are for sure doing the 100-meter. I believe we're going to do a relay. But again, I'm not sure quite yet the setup that we are going to have.
I wondered because you certainly you don't have time or the ability to probably do everything, and
No.
you don't want them pole vaulting.
Exactly, we're not going to do pole vaulting.
Anything along those lines. But there are
Yeah.
some other things you'd love for them to be
Absolutely.
able to jump into.
Absolutely. We'll for sure do a mile run, and we'll do the short sprints and some relays, but we will not be doing the pole vaulting and potentially the long jumps.
Okay.
They're so little that we don't want them to get hurt right off the bat, right? We got to introduce them slowly to these different elements that do take place at track meets.
Yeah, I'm actually, the back door to my house faces a school. A parking lot of a school is really our backyard. And in the afternoons, you can hear the kids playing on the playground. I get this sound in my head of those sounds at a track meet like this. It's got to be joyful.
It is so joyful. I love seeing the joy in these kids' faces whenever they get to be doing something active and just that's outside of their school or their classroom. They enjoy being outside, and that's the best part, is just getting to see those smiles and just to get to see them be active. That's all I want. I want them to be able to enjoy sports just as much as I do. I
didn't know. Now, how long has the TPS been doing this?
That is a great question. This is my first year doing this. Obviously, I've been here for 8 months, but I don't know. I want to say a couple years now. I
do remember when my daughter was in elementary, my youngest, seeing them out doing these kinds of things. I think it's wonderful because you never know who's going to get lit up, and suddenly they are going into that sport in high school or middle school or whatever.
Absolutely. This, like I've said previously, this is just a chance to introduce something new to them and maybe spark something in them that they didn't know was there, and that they do enjoy running. Running's not for me. That is not my sport of choice. However, it could be for one of these little kids, and this is just an opportunity for maybe to light a little fire in them.
And I think you can tell when you look at me, I'm definitely a runner.
Hey, you look like you could be.
The buffet line's open. That's about it. All right. Thanks very much, Emily Stone, Assistant Athletic Director. We appreciate it. Coming back with more right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics. Where's that buffet?
Hey, Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against one tough competitor, glass.
That's right. Only glass bottles and jars are recyclable. Don't even think about sinking a drink in glass or mirror. Always good to empty your glass bottles and jars before recycling.
These two get it, emptying both bottles from far out, and they remove the lids. Score big by recycling your glass bottles and jars. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Booker T. Washington has taught me to carry myself with class as an athlete, student, and friend, and to have responsibility on and off the field, and that it's the littlest things that will make all the difference in the long run.
Being an athlete at Memorial High School has taught me to be a better person, because when you play sports, attitude is the main thing you have to deal with, not just your own, but other people's. It also teaches you to be the bigger person.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, your host. And you cannot have a high school event. You shouldn't have a high school event without athletic trainers there. This man's in charge of it. Steve Friebus is the Director of Sports Medicine. That's a big title with only 3 words, but it covers a lot, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Because we're trying to be involved in everything that we can, from obviously the sports that you most likely see. Another guest on today's program was with Bike Club. We get involved with that because you never know what's going to happen. We've had kids, they fall and skin their hands or knees, and sometimes it gets hot at that time of the year. Was out at a JROTC superintendent's review last night, and we had some kids that standing at attention for an hour is not easy. You think just standing, but even though the weather was nice, sometimes they'd lock their legs, and we had a few kids that need a little attention. So it's always nice.
And we talked about this before when you were here, but remind people, it really hasn't been that long that was hard to come by, athletic trainers at basically every event. That was work in progress that everybody had to get into.
Right. When I started in the district 13 years ago, I was the only person. And now we just hired our 9th person. So now I have somebody at each school, and it allows me a little more freedom so that I can help cover gaps. So if we have multiple home events that we can do things, or I can go out to a track meet and see when we have 3 or 4 or 5 schools at a certain track meet, I can take care of a bunch of schools at one time, and the other athletic trainers schools can stay home and cover soccer or baseball, tennis, things like that.
Right now, and I'm glad you mentioned the junior ROTC thing, because I mean that people wouldn't have even thought of that. But I know that is a big program because we've talked to people who do it. Right now, we're going to get into a little bit of track right now. All right, so and we are getting to the end of the year. Kids are getting antsy, but track is also moving along. You're trying to close up a school year and a sports season. How is that combining?
Yeah, so sometimes what we're dealing with is at the academic testing is what they're doing. And so kids are having to make sure they may not be able to go to an event because the track meet the track meet I was at on Monday actually was a reschedule from Friday because of the rain. And so you have all the weather adds another variable into there. So meets are, baseball, the fields sometimes are too wet to play. They get rescheduled. We're doing ACT testing right now. So that factors into what time they can practice, when they are going, can't miss too many absences. They got to do all this type of things to keep their academics on par, their attendance on par, and still be able to perform at the highest level.
And it also throws your schedule and your staff schedule into disarray. I mean, you have something set and it's changed. I've got a friend who always said a plan is something you make just so it can immediately fall apart and you can change it.
Exactly.
Is that kind of how you guys deal with it?
Absolutely. I mean, we say flexibility is the number one thing because it's always, well, I was going to go here on Tuesday and now we're hosting on Tuesday or something like that. So now I got to be at the host, and it really does. And we work as a really good team, things like that, so that if things do get changed, it's like, well, I can't be at this. Can you cover that game because they're going to be at your place, and I'll cover your team. Maybe baseball's at my place and soccer's at your place. And so it's like, okay, we'll take care of. We look at ourselves as we may be assigned to a school, but we're Tulsa Public Schools athletic trainers, and all those kids are ours. Doesn't matter if I'm wearing blue, green, red, yellow. Those are our kids, and they know they can come to me for anything they need.
We talk about soccer, about track. What are some of the unique challenges? I think everybody understands there are going to be leg injuries and that kind of thing, pulled muscles, ankles. You see that in a lot of sports. What else are we missing here that's specific?
Asthma attacks. You get stung by a bee or a wasp. Blisters on the hands from the pole vault. We all think, oh, you're going to pull a hamstring, but wrist injuries and shot put or discus, and then you're limited because you can't put anything in the hand for discus or shot put that may affect their grip. So you can do something on the wrist. So we have to make sure we're following the rules that way. Of course, when the kids run multiple events, sometimes they're on relay teams. So it's kind of like the coaches have to be similar to like a baseball. This pitcher I would expected to go 4 innings, and they're getting shelled in the first 2. Well, that kid all of a sudden he runs to 200 and his leg's not feeling well, so we got to find a substitute. You always have to have that backup for the relay team later in the day. Heat, of course, is an issue. Nutrition is an issue. Kids think, well, I don't want to throw up, so I don't want to eat all day. But then they've been running events, it's hot, they get towards the end of the day and they're not feeling well. So, well, what have you eaten? Nothing. So it's a lot of education on what are good foods that can clear your stomach quickly, give you the energy you need, and not slow you down.
Well, and those things have changed too in some of the technical foods, if you will, that they have done. Is that something you guys promote? Do you talk about it at all?
We try to, and a lot of times it's limited to either what the kid can afford or what can be stored. You don't want, a cheese sandwich, ham and cheese sandwich on a hot day, sitting all day in the sun is not what you want. So, what works better? Peanut butter and jelly works better. Fruit works better. Bagels, crackers, things like that aren't greasy, aren't full of fat, but will give the kid energy to keep them from not being hungry and sustain their energy levels with the right amount of glycogen.
As I said, the kids are kind of getting a little antsy because we're getting closer to the end of school. I know you can say, well, it's a long way out. Not as far as you think. Does the staff get the same way?
Yes, because they're trying to put together the right relay teams to be ready for regionals and qualifying for state and things like that.
Yeah. Steve, thank you for coming up. It's always a pleasure. We appreciate that. I won't even mention probably a memorial shirt, but it's North Carolina blue to me. And I'll just let that go. Back with more next right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey, Tulsa, we have a crushing recycle play of the day for you. Team Johnson versus paper and cardboard.
They're starting off slow today, probably trying to figure out what to do with those styrofoam plates since they're not recyclable.
There's the big play we were waiting for. Boom! Completely empty cardboard boxes dunked in the cart. Score big by recycling your cardboard and paper. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You know you can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, you know your team will always be there for you.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against a tough competitor, plastic.
Don't trust those numbers on the bottom. You have to stick to what you know. Only bottles and jugs found in the kitchen, bath, or laundry. They're quick to pick up. And empty those bottles before sinking that shot.
Always empty your bottles before recycling. Score big by recycling your plastic bottles and jugs. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. I am your host, Rick Couri, and it's time to talk some athletic training with Kelly Todd. She's a certified athletic trainer. It's important to make sure we say that, certified athletic trainer.
Yes.
There are things you have to go through. Describe what the schooling is like for that.
Well, that has changed throughout the years, actually. When I went through the program originally, it was a 4-year program at Oklahoma State University. It was a bachelor's degree. They have now shifted the profession into a master's is required. So it's now a 2-year master's program. And then once you complete your program from a KD certified program, then you have to sit for our board of certification exam, which is a national exam.
So we're talking about a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
At any point in that, did you think to yourself, I'm not sure this is right?
Oh, I'm sure I had those moments. Some classes were tougher than others. And so I definitely remember there were times I'm like, maybe I'll just, go work at McDonald's or something. Like, I don't know if this is for me. But, you stick it out and it ends up being worth it in the end.
Do you remember a class that was the hardest? My wife was an athletic trainer at the University of Tulsa. That's actually how we met. And at one point, she told me it was like a physical chemistry class or something that was just ridiculously hard.
So I have 2 classes that I remember specifically. One of them was our regular anatomy class we had to take. So we had applied anatomy and then a regular anatomy. And the regular anatomy at OSU was for pre-med students. And a lot of the things that they got into when they got into the nervous system and the endocrine system, it was just so over my head. I was like, I think I'll stick to my bones and muscles. While a good base knowledge and those others are great, they got really in depth with those. Mm-hmm. The other class that was kind of difficult for me was a nutrition class. And it was because it was a large class. There were 300 students in my class. And so that was just, I needed a little more smaller environment, I feel, for that. But
hey, you got through,
we made it through,
and that's what
yes.
mattered. And now that you've been doing this for a while, and I know
Mm-hmm.
you said you're just coming back to Tulsa after being here, to the district after being here and then being away and coming back, what have you learned to appreciate more, you think?
One of the most positive things about coming back to TPS, I think this time around, is a work-life balance. So we now have 9 of us employed, and then Steve at the district level as well. And so what he was kind of talking about, or we'll get into, I don't know which order we're in, there's more help along the way. So we're less spread out over the 9 schools. We each get to focus more on one, which is better for us and better for the students as well.
Yeah, you get to learn them, they get to learn you. Not any different than a coach, is it? I mean, you have to kind of learn each other's personality.
Correct. It makes a big difference in the care for the students too. When you've got that relationship with them, then you know like what their normal is. And especially when you're looking for diagnosing like concussions. Sure. Well, is this kid always kind of goofy, or is he just acting kind of loopy today? So when you get to know them a little bit better, and they open up to you more about things too. So it makes it a lot easier to treat injuries and know when a kid is maybe seriously injured versus not when you're with them every day.
They'll trust you more, right?
Correct.
And they'll tell you more in those situations. So right now, I know we're getting toward the end of the year. There are a lot of things that are still happening. Baseball is going on, tracks going on. What's keeping you the busiest?
Right now, soccer. Soccer is pretty busy. We've got games usually 2 times a week. We've just started districts. Last night, I was with McLean and Stillwell. So that was, a good hour-and-a-half drive. It went really well. Our boys won after double overtime and went to PKs. So we were very excited, yes.
Well, you go to Stillwell later, you get the Strawberry Festival, but you're a little early as of right now. Is there and don't worry, no one else is watching, you just tell me, is your favorite sport?
A favorite sport? Oh, that one's difficult. It depends on which one. Somebody asked me this the other day, and so I will tell you, probably my favorite sport to watch is baseball, particularly in like college level and professional level. But my favorite sport to work is probably basketball.
Because?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's indoors. You're out of the elements, and also like the gameplay, like it's fast paced, it keeps you entertained. And the hospitality rooms are not bad either.
There are some really nice ones out there. Is there a sport that generally presents you the bigger problem with injuries, more kids coming in, be it minor or major?
You know, that really depends on the year. Every year is a little bit different, so we have different things. Football always usually has the majority of the injuries, which they have the most exposure to injuries. They have the most kids on the field. But sometimes you would be surprised. Sometimes we get a lot of very strange injuries out of like our cross-country kids or track kids that you wouldn't think would have a lot of injuries. And, you know, usually it's a hamstring strain here or there or a rolled ankle. But sometimes you get some pretty serious ones out there.
We haven't ever pulled a muscle here. I'll just let you know that.
We might need to get a little more active then.
Kelly, thank you very much for your time. Kelly Todd, certified athletic trainer. We'll be back in a few moments. I'm feeling a little into my shoulder here on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against one tough competitor, glass.
That's right, only glass bottles and jars are recyclable. Don't even think about sinking a drink in glass or mirror. Always good to empty your glass bottles and jars before recycling.
These two get it, emptying both bottles from far out, and they remove the lids. Score big by recycling your glass bottles and jars. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
I feel like athletics is so important at Tulsa Central because it's an outlet for some of our kids there. They get a better opportunity to basically give back to our community.
At McLean, the sports is what mainly drives a bunch of the students to come to school every single day and work hard because they want to be able to come from the classroom to the field or the court and show at what they're good at.
This is Inside Tulsa Athletics. Welcome back. I'm your host, Rick Couri, and this young lady's been with us before, Krystel Markwardt. She is the Deputy AD, and you're here to talk a little bit about girls' sports. We'll talk about a lot of things because we're coming up to the end of the year, but you're here to talk about Fuel. Explain what that is.
So Fuel, we started when I got in this position last year. Jen Sanders had said, hey, we've got this partnership with Oklahoma City Public Schools and some community partners down there, and we're trying to build a program to help get increased participation numbers in middle school female athletes. And so what we've noticed as we've gone through the last even 5 years is there's a decrease in participation for girls. And there's multiple things that's causing that. But we decided we were going to focus on the middle school 6 through 8. So we got together with Oklahoma City Public Schools. We started this Females Educating, Understanding, and Leading group. River Sport is involved. Cleats for Kids is involved. Again, Oklahoma City Public Schools is great. Eddie Wright over there, the AD, is really good with this program. He's been supporting it. And we do the conference at Metro Tech in Oklahoma City. So we'll go on Friday. We're going to take 100 student athletes, so female student athletes from 6th through 8th grade. We'll take some from each middle school here in the district. And we'll go down there. We've got some keynote speakers that are going to just really encourage these girls to stay involved in athletics. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about careers that they can go into, that whether they're moving on to play at the next level or not, there's so many different avenues for women now in sports, and it's incredible. And so we bring in different people from marketing to sportscasters, just all different people that come in and talk to these girls and give them opportunity to just learn about the industry and what they can do. So we're really excited.
And there are so many of those. As a college football broadcaster, I can tell you the number of young women who are in athletic training or in equipment management.
Yes.
The equipment management staffs are more than half young women at the University of Tulsa these days. You're talking about hard-working people who are learning something that they can capitalize on.
Absolutely. And we've got so many, talking about athletic training with Steve Friebus and his team, we've got so many young people that are interested in that. It's just grown. And so we've got We've got athletic training represented. We've got the mental health represented. We're actually taking Linda Drink and her Women with a Whistle group are going down there to just make them understand, look, officiating is huge. You see it now. Females are all over there in the NFL, NBA, whatever. So we're just going to give them a whole lot of options and just let them know that there are avenues out there for them to stay involved.
I love this getting them 6 to 8.
Yes.
You catch them there, you can keep them.
You catch them there and you can keep them. And our goal is just to get those kids involved. You know, we know and data tells us that if our kids are involved in something, whether it's sports, activities, something, they're going to show up to school. They're going to do better in the classroom. They're going to feel better. And so it just creates a better student experience. So that's what we're looking for.
You know, just a quick idea. You want to get them out, just give away free Taylor Swift tickets.
Absolutely.
And I think we're on to something here. We're going to have to talk to Mick about that
I
one.
should have thought about
Yeah,
that.
just something to do.
Great idea.
You mentioned girls' numbers down. That surprises me a little because we've seen such an explosion in like wrestling and some things like that. So there are some sports that are growing.
There are. Kind of just an interest change. So we were talking about it in the office in the last couple of weeks, and some of the side ADs and talking about sending out interest surveys for sports. And sometimes that does change. You know, girls basketball right now, for example, in the middle school, the numbers are down. Where, you know, 10 years ago, you didn't have to worry about it. Now you only need 5 kids to play, right? But we're struggling in that area just with participation. And I'm not sure why that is yet. Maybe it is because there's a growing interest in girls wrestling. And it's at the same time. I'm not sure. We are seeing increases in girls wrestling. Obviously with flag football now, that's blowing up like crazy. And girls now, they're interested in soccer and even volleyball. So we're seeing some growth, and then we're seeing some of those decrease. So our goal is just to get them interested and retain them.
Overall numbers, if you talk about not just individual programs, but the overall numbers, how has it been?
You know, I've been in Tulsa Public Schools for the last 12 years, and I was at Rogers for 10 of those, and our girls' sports, our numbers were good, but we had some really good high school programs, and we had 6th through 12th on campus, so those kids got to see those girls. I'm not sure if it's, you know, some of our standalone middle schools maybe don't have that great of a connection with the high school because they're not right there on campus, so they don't have that game day atmosphere like the high school kids get. But we're looking to explore all kinds of options. Number-wise, from last year when we started the fuel program to this year, we increased 2% with and that's good. I mean, any increase is good for us. So
right, and all you need is somebody to go to that conference, come back here and light up about it to their friends, and then look what happens.
So we talked about it last year. We took 100 girls last year. We're taking 100 this year, and we're going to try to expand that program to the high school next year. Because even from 9th to 10th grade, we lose kids.
Yeah.
You know, kids have so many options anymore and so many different things out there to do and their responsibilities, you know, family responsibilities and that kind of thing. So we just want to make sure that they know this is an avenue.
And that avenue hopefully continues to grow as girls sports, I hope absolutely does. We saw the WNBA grow. We saw the Women's College Basketball Championship be well, not for Dawn Staley, but for otherwise a pretty doggone good game, huh?
Yes. And softball, I mean, that's what I'm, you know, that's me. That's what I'm involved in. But we're looking to get that program going again as well. So we're excited. This is a good time for us.
Outstanding. Krystel Markwardt, Deputy AD, Tulsa Public Schools. Thank you very much for coming back. We'll back with more in a moment here on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey, Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is looking to defend their title against aluminum and steel cans.
Bob, most people think of the kitchen for this opponent, but aluminum and steel cans, like empty shaving cream cans, also play extremely well in bathrooms all over Tulsa. That was nothing but bin, Bob.
Wow, right into the bin. Team Johnson has buttoned up another win. Score big by recycling your aluminum and steel cans. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hales means that you have to be consistent, outgoing, and be dedicated because students at Nathan Hale look up to the football team.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hale has taught me to be confident and disciplined and always to be open-minded and always ready to work with people no matter how difficult it is.
We are back here on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I am Rick Couri, your host, and the big dog is here. Everybody straighten up. Make sure you got all your buttons done. Mick Wilson, he's the athletic director at Tulsa Public Schools, and you got a lot to talk about.
Well, I'm never lost for words, that's for sure. And I can't button up straight, Rick, because I'm wearing a quarter zip. So I'll do my best to provide you with good answers. And,
you're
and
making
sit up,
it look right.
And sit up straight.
It's a really nice material right there, by the way. Mick got me a couple of these. I'm really happy
thank
with
you.
it.
Thank you.
All right, I want to start with junior ROTC. That's something we've actually had on the show before. We've talked about before. I know I've had people mention to me who watch the show say, I didn't even know they still did that. How long have you been doing that at TPS?
I think we've had that program in place for over 30 years, and I will say that we've got a good group of commanders and leaders in place right now that seem to be really pushing in and leaning in and trying to gain our maximum participation charge that we've given district-wide. And so we want to increase our numbers, but a great program, great leadership skills, and again, when you've got some guys that are retired military that are leading those programs, can definitely impart knowledge to a lot of kids and to future cadets. So excited about that program that was assigned to me going on 2 years now, that they brought that to us and put that in kind of in our wheelhouse, so to speak. And so I've been learning right alongside so many people, Rick, because I think it's such a great program. And of course, you believe in the military way and the military leadership and the skills that it develops in our young men and women. So it was a natural fit for us. We've embraced it and really tried to learn. And moving forward, we're going to continue to support and find ways that we can grow our numbers.
Right. Well, you got the haircut for it. Got the high and tight, right? You got that going. Now, I really thought it was cool. They talked about the superintendent's review. Explain to us what that is.
Well, the superintendent's review happened last night, and it's a great time for basically our superintendent comes and just really reviews each post and each group. And so the groups obviously perform, they march, and are under the guidance of their commanders, and it's a great time. They're in uniform. We had a few, some were in their fatigues, some were in their full uniforms, but it's a great variance of each armed service. In Tulsa Public, we have the Air Force, we have the Navy, and we have the United States Army. So each one brings something different to the table. But it's a great time for us to highlight the year and for them to showcase the skills that they've learned, and then just the whole discipline and her charge to them. She speaks individually with each group, each high school, and so the kids get kind of a charge or get a motivational speech, so to speak, from her. Also, there are awards provided to individuals with outstanding service throughout the year. So it's a great celebratory night to recognize our kids, for them to also perform in front of their families. We had a good crowd. We've already started talking about yesterday evening debriefing, and even into today, about ways we can make this a better event. Now that we're involved, we're going to blow this thing up and make it a more special night. Whether it's, last night was the first time we've ever had snacks. We provided snacks and some things for the kids because it's a long couple hours that they're out there in the heat. And so we've talked about some ways that we're going to make this better next year. And so as we start sketching out our notes, we'll obviously have to abide by the regulations that are afforded us by the government, but we will do that, and then at the same time try to make it an event where it's more family friendly, maybe a little more organized. Nothing against the folks that have been putting that on, but sometimes just getting fresh set of eyes on things will help improve it. So we're already thinking about the ways that we can make it a better event next year and really recognize our kids that deserve that.
I think all of us can get a mental image of what the military is like, whether you've served or not, and thank you for those of you who have.
Absolutely.
With that being the case, what kind of benefits are you seeing for TPS kids in the program?
Well, I think it's like so many secondary school activities, Rick. It's incentive for kids to come to school every day. If you've got something that you're interested in, and I've said this so many times, and I don't mean it as a knock to into the academics, but sometimes kids don't get so excited about that Algebra 2 exam, but they do get turned on about a Friday night football game or a basketball game or an activity that you feel a part of, and you feel that you appreciate, and you feel needed, and you feel recognized.
Yep.
And so the social part of that is invaluable when you talk about getting kids to attend school and be part of something that down the road is bigger than themselves. And so we want to continue to do that. And so I think that's the big part, is giving kids an identity to show up to school and be a part of something that's beyond the classroom.
Sure. And for many who maybe aren't athletic enough or don't feel they're athletic enough to do other things, they can find a niche. And it's not just there. There are many other things and clubs around TPS doing that, right?
Well, and that was the amazing thing last night, that talking to our assistants, our entire staff was in attendance, and talking about how we did see kids that maybe aren't athletes, but then we recognize that in the Edison, one of their Army cadets was one of their best basketball players last year. So seeing Sheldon out there being a part of that was an amazing experience to see kids that you recognize. Webster has a couple of kids that were football and wrestlers that were part of their JROTC. So it's amazing that you get those kids that maybe aren't part of a team, but then some that are. So
that is really cool. All right, we're going to come back in a moment and have more with Mick. We're going to talk a little bit at closing up the year for TPS. That's next right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey, Tulsa, we have a crushing recycle play of the day for you. Team Johnson versus paper and cardboard.
They're starting off slow today, probably trying to figure out what to do with those styrofoam plates, since they're not recyclable.
There's the big play we were waiting for. Boom! Completely empty cardboard boxes dunked in the cart. Score big by recycling your cardboard and paper. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
I love Will Rogers Athletics because it helped me physically, spiritually, and emotionally through all the journeys I've been through at that school. All of the support staff helped me a lot, and it's just an amazing school.
Athletics at Will Rogers changed my life because it became a second family. With the support of my coaches and teammates, it's helped me gain confidence, work as a team, and will help me in college and in life.
We're back for more Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, and he's still here. He is the boss. He is Mick Wilson, the athletic director at Tulsa Public Schools. We just talked a good bit about junior ROTC, and next year we want to make sure that we give everybody a bit more of a heads up. That'd be really fun to have a bigger crowd out there. You said you had a good one. Wouldn't it be cool to kind of fill the stadium?
Well, that was our intention, and I think that's what we're gonna shoot for.
Good.
Obviously, we're gonna have a good goal, and to really support our folks that. One, support our country,
yep.
But we need to support those kids and really give them a chance to shine and kind of get their moment in the sun, so to speak, literally.
Yes.
Last night it was a beautiful night, and of course we had the event at East Central High School there at Eastside Stadium, so it was a great event, and of course Dr. Johnson and some of our members of her cabinet were able to attend, as well as several board members. So it was really a great event across the board. And again, as I'm learning, I immediately was taking mental notes and went back to my office this morning and started writing them down, because I'm old, Rick, and I forget. So it was important that we need to try to put some things in together to make this event even better. Yeah, as we move forward.
He's not old. I have pants his age. All right, as we move on, we're kind of closing a year. And I know we talk about winter sports, but it's not just that. We go to winter to spring. We got to close all that stuff up. Let's go back, first of all, to winter. What a year for basketball in and around TPS, but that wasn't the only thing.
Well, no, it was not at all, but I tell you, you can't help, but it just makes me happy, makes my heart happy when I see our basketball teams, both boys and girls, experience the dominance statewide. Again, we were probably 1 point, 2 points away from having all four spots in the East Side in 5A boys. In fact, we really had five teams playing for 4 spots, and ended up with 3. So we definitely can't complain there. But so our coaches work so hard, both boys and girls basketball, and they know that it's become our kind of flagship go-to sport across the state. Not taking anything away from our other sports, but we have had a lot of dominance and success with boys and girls basketball. But it was a great time to make those trips to Oklahoma City, and then to come away with the Booker T. Washington girls being 5A state runner-up, and we're right there. Had a time when we didn't shoot it as well as we have, because I really felt like we were probably still, in my heart, the better team. Yeah. But and then for our boys to walk off with a 5A state championship with the Booker T boys was just a great feeling. Being able to go down the floor and recognize our kids and see them experience the success, and our coaches, and to support that, and our school and our crowd. We had a great crowd in the Booker T community, and really we had. Across Tulsa Public Schools, a lot of our folks were all rooting for one another. So again, there's just really the support of the city of Tulsa with that success was really great to see.
What kind of momentum does that create?
What's that?
What kind of momentum does that create?
Oh, I think it continues. The momentum continues, Rick, because of our great tradition. I think I think some of that I would say is easy. It's nothing's ever easy, but when you have that tradition in place and your kids show up expecting to win, that's a big part of it. I compare that to what you see a lot of times with Memorial boys basketball.
Yes.
Those kids sometimes when they just walk in the gym, they expect to win, and
Yep.
it's that way across the board with a lot of our district schools. So again, kudos to all of our basketball coaches, both boys and girls, for all the hard work they put in this year across the district.
And then as you're closing that up, you move on to spring, and then you're not really that far. I've talked about this with you on the radio before. You've got to not only do spring sports, you got to close spring sports, you got to close the year. What are the next 3 months like?
Well, I think the big thing in place is just squaring away your finances and making sure that your budgets are there where they need to be, that you're not over budget, that you've not underspent, because sometimes when you underspend, then you don't get that money the next year. So yeah. I think keeping targets on where you're at with budgetary issues is a big thing. Making sure that inventories are done and completed and those turned in. And then again, obviously in the teaching and coaching world, there's going to be people that leave the district, and there's going to be people that you have to go out and recruit people to come to the district and hire new folks. And we're actually going through that right now. We just named a new person as our head basketball coach, girls at Edison, being Erin Daniels, and we're in the process right now of hiring a boys head basketball coach at Will Rogers. So, and I think we're probably going to see another couple of openings here in the next couple of weeks. So those are some of the big things, just getting that closed out and then getting ready for our soccer dominance is probably our next fastest growing sport where we're experiencing a lot of success. And as you heard from Coach Timmons, our boys teams across the district are very strong. And so we're going to continue to celebrate them and look forward to maybe another state championship, just as we did with soccer last year in boys when it was Edison versus Booker T for the state championship.
Yeah, and Edison, or the East Central's off to that 9-0 start. And I said to Coach Timmons, "It's a really nice job." And he goes, "Yeah, we're not bad." And I said, "Well, it's better than 8-1. I mean, you're 9-0. You're doing all right. I mean, you got to look around and appreciate the success, don't you?"
Well, we love Coach Timmons, and he plays a little bit of that Lou Holtz. Yeah. We're just not very good, and we've been really, really lucky. So, but the East Central boys, speaking of tradition, the great tradition in boys soccer has really shined through, and just another chance for our principal Gina Wilson to be excited and proud. She's coming off that flag football state championship, so she'll be all ready to go for boys soccer for sure.
Mick, thank you very much. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for asking me to do this. I'm having a great time.
Well, we appreciate you, Rick, and you've been great for us. And I'll always let everybody know that you're a Hell Ranger, born and bred.
Yes, sir. All right, coming back next with some more Inside Tulsa Athletics. That's the boss.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against a tough competitor, plastic.
Don't trust those numbers on the bottom. You have to stick to what you know. Only bottles and jugs found in the kitchen, bath, or laundry. They're quick to pick up. And empty those bottles before sinking that shot.
Always empty your bottles before recycling. Score big by recycling your plastic bottles and jugs. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, your team will always be there for you.
Wow, what a fun show. Thanks very much to, how about John Timmons talking East Central soccer, Mr. Friebus talking a little bit athletic training, of course, Mick Wilson, the athletic director being here, Krystel Markwardt, the deputy AD. We've had another great day here at Inside Tulsa Athletics. We hope you enjoyed it too. Remember, you'll be able to find this and view it all you want, and you want to join us again next time. We'll see you right here with more about Tulsa Public Schools kids on Inside Tulsa Athletics.